There are big things happening in Bollo Bollo. As we take a break from expanding the Shadow Trail, and as a big surprise is brewing on top of this Lion's Plateau, a large expansion is on its way. The Grand Safari, an attraction which will feature a jeep ride, a monorail experience, and a footpath, all offering unprecedented views of both predators and herbivores of the African grasslands. Today, we build our first element of this safari experience, a predator's haven overlooking the savannah that will blend into its background, with plenty of room for these lightning-fast cats to stretch their legs. We are talking about the cheetah. Join me. The idea for the Grand Safari had always been just that, an idea, a ghost in my brain somewhere. Not that a safari is some revolutionary concept, I just needed to visualize it and get started. And that is actually what this whole series and ultimately my YouTube experience has been about, to just get started. The rest will follow. Getting a good look at Leaf's Safari Park here on my channel, and the help of various builders on Discord made my plans more precise. I knew then and there what I wanted to build. 4 central large habitats where large African herbivores graze, visible pretty much only from the jeeps. On foot, you circle this large plain with plenty of refreshments and shade along the way, and view smaller habitats that have invisible barriers, seemingly blending into the safari, the savannah beyond it. Dominating this plain will be 2 large buildings on a hill, doubling as the monorail station and the rhinoceros shelter. This will take a while to build, but luckily I have it well planned out at this point. For the cheetahs, another inspiration was of course Paws, the cat sanctuary I toured on my channel. It was a lot of help looking at that channel and coming up with inspiration. I started building an elongated habitat which will feature subtle and highly unrealistic barriers, plenty of grass, a few shaded platforms, and a rocky plateau to survey their surroundings. Cheetahs are well known for their agility and speed, being the fastest land animal on Earth. Just to put that into context, the fastest recorded cheetah, named Sarah, ran 100 meters in 5.95 seconds. Just think about that, right? It feeds on small to medium-sized prey in its habitat in northwestern, eastern, and southern Africa, even in Iran, and I've read about them living in India at this point. They tend to avoid other predators and be on the lookout for them, as they might lose their food to the more brawny and dominant ones, such as hyenas and lions. This habitat was designed to reflect their environment in the real world. Their need to watch their surroundings from on high, but also their need to run long distances. In fact, I might even have made it much longer to really showcase their speed. Speaking of speed, you saw me do a quick and dirty build here of their shelter. Buildings never have been my strong suit, which is funny because I've definitely seen more buildings in my life than I've seen zoo habitats. But still, especially if you ask me to do a more organic shape to a building, I'm just not very good at it. Even though I've spent hundreds of hours playing this game, I usually just resort to these, okay-ish rectangular boxes with some nice roofs on it. As far as the fence goes, I saw Digital Blob or Blob using these electric fences sort of scaled down in plenty of his habitats, and I wanted to go for that same type of feel. And there will be moats around this habitat in all the critical places. At the guest side, a moat that is visible and which as a guest will probably offer you some peace of mind, but at the back will be hopefully invisible to either the jeep ride or the guests on the footpath. And the idea being that this habitat blends into the habitat which is currently, of course, not built, but that the habitat will blend into it and it will look like these cheetahs are actually overlooking their prey and could easily run up to there. I think it's fair to say that this fence's height is not going to be realistic. And then again, that's a sacrifice you have to make sometimes. Sometimes in Plant Zoo you want to go for things that look real, and sometimes you want to go for things that look nice. And this time around I'm going to go for something that looks nice. The fence is built, and at this point begins my favorite part, honestly, of any build, and that is where we start spamming plants. I sort of keep it to a minimum. I wanted to keep the foliage flat. I wanted to make sure that this habitat represented the flat grasslands most of all. So I didn't want to have big bushes or lots of trees, but just a flat habitat. The elevation will come later in the shape of two sort of climbing structures, really, and one outcropping. But yeah, this is not a habitat necessarily that's going to be well known for its elevation. But just in general, the foliage here was fun to do nonetheless. And I think when I built the whole savannah behind it, the foliage will expand and extend and become more of an immersive experience. So we built these this cladding to sort of reinforce the moat. It will receive a second layer of more layered rocks later on to give it more of a realistic look. In terms of welfare, funnily enough, obviously the cheetahs hate this amount of plants, but that's something that I've stopped paying attention to a long time ago. I imagine in real life the cheetahs would be quite pleased with this, but in the game they just go like, there's too many plants in here. And you know, if you play Planet Zoo, there's never too many plants, there's never too many grasses. I'm using plenty of different grasses in here, plenty of different bushes, not all of them necessarily African, but I've also stopped trying to keep it, to stick to only African plants a long time ago. So at this point I was pretty pleased with how the foliage had started to look, so I was looking for some advice, and it was actually Blob who suggested the next step, and that is actual like elevation in the habitat, sort of as a lookout for the cheetahs. And I didn't want to make the elevation necessarily a natural feature, but wanted them to have at least these two platforms that they could sit on. They could rest in the shade, they could maybe take a nap, but I would also place a feeding platter on one of the two, so that the cheetahs would also always have this elevated area that they could rest on, enjoy the sunlight, enjoy the shade. So that is what this is. Very simple, a frame of these wooden beams and then metal beams around it. I decided to place it right here, and then out of planks just create a simple slope so that they could walk up it. So there you go, here I go constructing the slope out of the very same planks, making sure that there's a little bit of distance between them, just because that looks nice, that looks realistic. We go ahead and check the traversable terrain, and they can get up there. So just checking how it looks from the Jeep ride, I decided to make a second platform and add it here at the end of the habitat. And I will replace eventually, I know there's like bedding on there, but I will replace that with a feeding platter. I placed these 3 trees exactly where the sun would, I looked at the sunlight, put it at 12 a.m. and then placed the trees so that exactly at noon the cheetahs could rest in the shade there at 12. So that was sort of the idea there with changing the lighting and making sure the shadow would hit the platform. So we heightened that fence just because that sort of felt more realistic, I don't know why. Then we take some more of this cladding, sink it into the ground just to vary the texture a little bit of this sort of a dirt pathway. And then we add some rocks around trees. I don't know why, but whenever I add trees, I like to add a lot of plants and rocks and everything around trees, because trees feels like such a natural anchor point for other features in nature. Off screen, I did some more construction on the Grand Safari square, if you could call it that, and we add some more rocks to fill up this empty space. Using the savannah rock here, I know a lot of the zoo relies on the faux rock, but the savannah rock actually is a bit underused. I might use it a lot in this actual savannah section of the zoo. And then lots of dry, typically grassland vegetation to fill in these spaces here. And yeah, a lot of what's left is just adding more plants, more grasses, more drin grass, which is actually used to be the grass that you would use in Planet Zoo until buffalo grass came along. And I think there's still a room for drin grass in the game. I think what mostly holds me back for drin grass is just that it's smaller and just takes a few milliseconds more to really add a lot of it to a habitat. So a drinking fountain, which I almost forgot because I'm still playing with some of the settings on and animals still need to drink. We make a very simplistic moat wall here out of plaster pieces, and make sure to build it all around this path here. The walking path will form a very large circle around the safari. I'm not sure yet what to do with the outer edges. I might just raise the terrain or just add big bushes. I'm not planning any expansion beyond the outer edges of the walkway. In terms of realism, doesn't really matter. But yeah, there might be some shops or some drink stops here and there. But no big plans for the exterior. It's all about the interior here for the guests. You saw me build the platform here, and you see me take these layered rocks to give it a realistic look. Even at the front here, then we're going to add plenty of grass and bushes around it just to connect it more to the habitat, and that is it. We're done. This habitat is finished, and this is what it will look like from the guest's point of view. It will obviously and hopefully look much better when behind what you're looking now will be a very much alive and vibrant savanna with plants, with trees, with a rock feature in the middle. There will be something to look at. It won't look like this weird chaos behind it. So I think if I try to use the same plants and the same vibe throughout, then this will look like one continuous abode for all of these animals. So that is my hope for this to really come together in the end, but I'm still eager to show off step by step all of the steps that this big project will take. Now and then I will return to older parts of the zoo, as that is my modus operandi, really, to just jump around and build on things that I might have forgotten about, and step by step I will complete this mammoth of a project that I've been working on for a long time, and I can't take my mind off of it. This is the zoo I want to complete, even though I'm at like 11 frames per second at the moment in this zoo, which is a bit of a problem. Considering how much I still want to add to it, maybe I should really be listening to what people say and taking some animals out of the zoo until I want to showcase it or something. But it just feels wrong, man. I love animals too much to not have them live in my zoo. It's a bit silly. This is what it will look like from the Jeep's point of view. It's very much more of a low-key, more of a subtle hint that the cheetahs live there, and that is the idea that some of the views will be exclusive to the guests who are walking, as some of the views will be exclusive to the guests in the Jeep. And this is what it would look like in the evening as we retire from a long, hard day of work here at Bollo Bollo, and the sun is heading down, giving beautiful orange colors to the desert here. This is what we've accomplished with this cheetah build. I'm very pleased with how this came out. It's not a spectacular build in any sense, but it feels like a real accomplished place. It feels large enough for these animals. It shows them off in all the right ways. and I think the way that it will come together with the moat at the end and yeah, being able to look at the animals behind it will really pay off in the end. That is the idea, and of course an amazing animal. I'm very happy to finally welcome these wonderful guys to my zoo. And yeah guys, I want to thank you so much for watching. I know there was a bit of a break in between videos. I had a bit of a, well, I had some health issues to deal with, wasn't not in the mood for recording. But yeah, here we get to lie down and enjoy what we made. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.